All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're taking a look at a genuinely fascinating social and tech manifesto published by the Wave Chronicle. It's called The Way of the Sea. Now, this isn't your run-of-the-mill political platform or, some standard tech startup pitch. It's a totally alternative futurist vision for humanity. It attempts to blend these deep philosophical metaphors with some serious cutting-edge technological optimism. I mean, we all know our society is at a pretty massive crossroads right now, and this movement, well, it offers a very specific, highly decentralized roadmap forward.
To really get their mindset, we gotta look at the very first challenge they throw at their readers. They just flat out ask, if our society is finding a way to the dark ages, do you want to grow in one that honors positive social endeavors, technology, and free thought? Boom! Right out of the gate, they're setting the stage with this clear premise. They essentially believe our current societal trajectories are heading backward, kind of toward a metaphorical dark age. But instead of just throwing their hands up in despair, they're challenging you to actively choose a completely different path, one that's totally grounded in free thought and progress.
And the core visual metaphor here really captures the whole shebang. Picture a massive ocean wave, but instead of just water, it's totally interwoven with glowing digital data, circuitry, and these abstract concepts of innovation and free thought. It's crashing against a rocky shore, guided by a lighthouse. It basically shows us exactly how they view the future. For them, nature and technology aren't at odds at all. They are completely fused together into this unstoppable force meant to drive positive change forward.
So what does this all actually mean in practice? Let's break down these poetic metaphors, because this is literally the foundation for everything else. The sea isn't some physical place or a club you join. No, it's an internal state. It's found within anyone who honors positive social endeavors, technology, and free thought. So if you believe in those things, you're already part of the sea. The waves, on the other hand, well, they're the agents of action. They are the individuals who take that internal philosophy and crash onto the shore of society to bring about actual, tangible change. It's just a beautifully simple way to describe a completely decentralized movement.
Now, to turn that cool metaphor into reality, the movement relies on 4 distinct pillars. We're looking at the concept of the sea itself, liberty and opportunity, compassionate futurism, and decentralized action. We're going to unpack these one by one to see exactly how this whole futurist vision actually operates, starting right in the deep end with their foundational beliefs.
Section 1. The depths, focusing on liberty and transparency. Let's look at the core political and social tenets anchoring this entirely leaderless movement.
The manifesto lays out some seriously bold structural claims for society. First off, personal liberty and equality of opportunity are absolutely paramount. Well, as long as your freedom doesn't accidentally or deliberately step on someone else's toes, of course. They explicitly reject authoritarianism and what they call uncontrolled crony capitalism. Instead, they push hard for direct democratic activity at both the local and national levels. But the absolute biggest takeaway? Their zero-tolerance policy for censorship. They demand complete transparency in governments. And, this is crucial, they declare themselves fiercely independent. They are beholden to no single political party or established philosophy. Basically, they just take what works from society and toss out what doesn't.
But here's the thing. They aren't just rigid technologists. Not at all. They place this immense emphasis on the balance between art and science. They make the argument that science and technology never exist in a vacuum. Instead, they're introduced into a cultural context that's driven by art, philosophy, and human emotion. Because culture essentially dictates how we actually relate to and use technology, they say art, philosophy, and science must all be afforded equal respect. They absolutely recognize that to engineer a better future, you have to humanize it.
Moving on to Section 2, the current, which is all about decentralized action. We've seen their internal philosophy, but how does a movement without a political party actually get stuff done?
Well, if you're waiting for a leader to tell you what to do, this movement is definitely not for you. Their rules are wonderfully blunt. No membership fees, no leadership to hold you back, and absolutely no complainers who just whine while doing nothing. They completely, 100% reject traditional, rigid, top-down leadership structures. In the way of the sea, you are a leader, and you are in charge. It's basically the ultimate empowerment model. You see a problem, you're expected to step up, get involved, and make the change happen yourself.
This is captured so perfectly in their text, where they say philosophy and ideology must serve as action toward achieving our goals, rather than distracting from such action. I mean, deep conversations are great, they have value, but only if they're grounded in concrete reality. They sum up this entire ethos with the phrase we all know and love, just do it. They demand considered action over purely theoretical debate. You have to assume the responsibility and the consequences for taking action yourself.
Now let's transition over to their ultimate destination. Section 3, The Shore, exploring compassionate futurism.
Their practical goals for humanity's future are honestly pretty sweeping. Since they believe ignorance directly causes suffering, their #1 directive is spreading accurate knowledge. On the environmental front, they demand the rapid abandonment of non-replaceable fossil fuels. They also want to build mutual support programs, expand human consciousness, and aggressively promote health to prolong life. Why? Because the deliberate, creative application of technology is their master key to improving the human condition and the environment we all share.
And all of those goals, they build toward a singular, massively ambitious climax. Their highest goal is to work toward a society in which involuntary suffering has been abolished by the considered compassionate application of technology. Let's just take a second to really absorb that. They aren't just trying to build, faster smartphones or cooler gadgets. They are a futurist movement aiming to literally engineer involuntary suffering right out of the human experience through technology and compassion. It is just a profoundly optimistic view of our potential.
So let's look at how this all builds into one cohesive journey. Step 1 is the C. That's that internal realization of free thought and tech optimism. Then, step 2 is the wave. That's when you turn that internal philosophy into decentralized, constructive action, basically choosing to just do it. And finally, step 3 is the shore. That's where we achieve positive societal change, environmental healing, and ultimately the abolishment of involuntary suffering. It's a super-logical flow, right? From mind to action to a world-changing result.
The Wave Chronicle has laid out this incredibly fascinating, leaderless framework. It demands personal responsibility, it champions free thought, and it firmly believes technology can genuinely cure the world's suffering. But look, a decentralized movement is literally nothing without individuals choosing to act. So I'll leave you with this final thought. In a society that might be finding its way to the dark ages, are you ready to be the wave? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring these futurist concepts.